Welcome everyone to the hot seat. I've got Greg Harman in the hot seat right now. We're gonna have a really good chat. I'm really excited about this because Greg's one of our, let's say, our high performing clients in New Zealand, doing amazing things. And yeah, we're gonna have a really good chat today. So Greg, welcome to the hot seat.
How are you, Bruce? Yeah.
Good. Are you ready to share some of your experiences with us?
Yes, for sure.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just sort of give you this sort of floor to just tell us a little bit about your business, the size of your business, where you're at, and then we'll explore the direction in a minute.
Yeah. So we've got 11 of us in our team. We mainly do kitchens. I try not to get in the high end of the market because I don't believe there's a lot of money in those sometimes. Yeah, I've been doing this for 35 years now. Yeah, and then just, found Bruce pretty well looking at JobMan, but couldn't find anyone who could tell me anything about it. Once I spoke to Bruce, I learned there's a lot of things I don't know.
Yeah. So you've had this amazing joinery business for 35 years.
Yes.
Tell me, what did you do before that? What was before the 35 years?
So the day I turned 15, I left school and started an apprenticeship.
Yep.
Worked there for 10 years, had a little change in my life. So went catching deer in a helicopter for 3 years until there was no money left in that. Was learning to fly. So then I was going to go to America and relocate animals. Mm-hmm. So while we're waiting for a green card, a friend wanted a kitchen made. So I made that in my father's shed. Then his friend wanted one. And I'm still doing it.
Isn't that interesting? So it's just that one little pivot in life that gets you on one path and you kind of stay on it, right?
Yes.
It's interesting because I remember early in my career, I said, I'll never do fitted joinery in my life. Who would want to do kitchens and wardrobes? Like, it's too hard, right, to fit it into someone's house. Yes. I just want to make furniture, make a table and chairs and sell it. How easy is that?
Yep.
And here we are 20, 30 years later, getting on with kitchens.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be a furniture maker when I left school. Yeah. And I applied for every apprenticeship. I went to every furniture company and joiner in town because I was allowed to leave school if I could get a job.
Yep.
So I think I went to 15 places. The Parkles where I did my time pretty well said that day you've got a job. So the day I turned 15, I left, started work the next day, and then I got 12 other yeses over the next 3 months, but I'd already signed up. So
nice. So let's talk about the evolution of your business. So there's Greg Harman Joinery, 35 years in business. That's a long time.
Yep.
Over those 35 years, let's talk about let's say the first 5 to 10 years. Tell me a little bit about how that went for you. What'd you learn? What were the big stages then? I
realized after I sort of run a factory at Parkles by the time I left, the last 5 years I was there, they'd put me in charge of the factory. When I started on my own, I realized I didn't know. I knew how to make a cupboard, that was all. I didn't know pricing, I didn't know business. So we had a few ups and downs, made a lot of money, but also then got caught with tax because I would work massive hours,
Yeah.
First 5 years I worked myself into hospital, I worked that much.
Yeah, that's a common problem in this industry.
Yep.
Yeah. So 5 to 10 years in business, but you're still here after 35 years. So you did something right in those 5 to 10 years for sure, right?
Then I had my brother working for me. He moved on. I had another guy working for me. He sort of moved on, and then I realized I had a 4-bay garage at home.
Right.
Big enough. So then I bought a lifestyle block and built a reasonable sized factory on that because I didn't want to get big. So then ended up with 5 staff. And we were doing it all just with a saw. I ended up buying a point-to-point at one stage.
Yep.
And
you had a CNC back then. Wow, that's big.
Yes. because I'd seen them go and knew they were the future. And then I saw a flatbed router going at a Weezer, just when they were first starting to nest.
Yep.
And then a guy, Dan Holmes in New Zealand, bought one and put a big story in a Joiners magazine. So I rang him and said, could I come and look? And he went, don't come and look, just do it. So I did.
Stop thinking about it, just do it.
Spent 200 grand without seeing anything.
What year was that?
Oh, have to be 20 years ago now. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. Sorry. Yeah.
So around 2000?
Yes.
You went to Nestor.
Yes.
And what software were you using then?
I'd already bought Cabinet Vision earlier,
Okay, so you're still on the Cabinet Vision train.
Yes.
20 years later, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest rewards were from getting the nesting machine? What did you get out of that?
Working 7 days a week, and I used to walk over to my house, which was 70 meters away from my workshop, to have morning tea with my wife every day. And on the third day of the month, I was walking over there and we had every job cut that would take us a month to do.
Oh, so you went back to 5 days a week.
Yeah. Then a building boom worked and people would walk down my drive and say, I need a kitchen in a week. And we'd go, yeah, that's no trouble.
Right. So you were a real market leader, right?
Yeah.
How many, sort of in this period of time here, how many people did you think have had a nesting machine in New Zealand at that time?
I think I was number 4.
Wow. Okay. So you were the fourth one to get one in the entire country.
Yep.
That's huge. Okay. So let's jump forward now to current day, and 35 years on. Congratulations, by the way, because to be in business for that long, you're doing a lot of things right. I know it seems like it's just, on your shoulders the whole time, you're carrying it, but working hard doesn't get you there. You've got to be smart about a lot of things, and you've been really smart about a lot of things, obviously, to be still here 35 years later. What do you think it is that, in your business and what you've learned has allowed you to keep going for 35 years?
I try and talk to guys out of town. I always have done that, and have a look at what is going on in other places. Don't just think, you've got to work smart, don't you?
So ask questions.
Yep.
Would you say that you kind of stay in touch with the trends in the industry?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the size of your team right now. You've got how many people in the factory?
So there's 5 in the factory, and I've got one guy full-time installing, and then the team in the factory helps a bit.
Yep.
And I've got a part-time contract guy that we've been using.
Right. So you got about 10 in total, I would say.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's 11 all up.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a fairly substantial team. Now we've been working together for a few months now.
Yes.
What was the main sort of thing that you wanted to sort of improve in your business or improve in yourself by engaging us?
I'm a tradesman, so I've got no real idea. Thought I had on how to run a business, like I'd go to my accountant and he'd talk profit and loss.
Oh, yes.
I just more worried about how much tax I was paying. So that made it work,
Yeah. And can we pay our bills? Yeah.
What those numbers meant,
Yeah. So you were looking for some more specific and pointed sort of business skills to get you.
Yes. And sales. Until what we've just introduced that you've shown us, I think we'd priced since our lockdown 390 kitchens.
Wow. So 390 kitchens.
Over the years, we never ring people. There's jobs regularly a year later, we'll walk in the door saying the roof's on, we want a kitchen.
Yeah.
So we're sort of organised, but we're not. Like Albert is organised, but we can't control those install dates.
Oh, yes. Those are builders that you're working with.
Yes.
Yeah. So as far as sales go, some of the stuff we're working on is actually that process through the sales stream, right? And
yes.
how to get that to be efficient, just like building cabinets needs to be efficient.
Yes.
What's the sort of takeaways now that we've had a few workshops on the sales? What do you think the big takeaway?
Oh, yeah, it's great because we now, rather than just, if we get a builder's plan, we just draw a kitchen, we now meet the customer.
So you're finding that filtering process, right? That maybe
Yes.
before
Yep.
you would have found too late. Maybe it's the right customer, maybe it's the wrong customer, but you're
Yep.
getting that kind of identified really early on.
And there's 4 of us in my office, and when a customer leaves, you quite often hear one of us call out, D.
That's funny. Yeah. D grade doesn't mean bad person, just means maybe
No.
not the right fit for you.
Yeah.
Just to be perfectly clear about that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The other thing that we've been kind of working on is your systems.
Yes.
You mentioned JobMan as a business management system. What are you looking for that to change in your business? Like, what are the big improvements that that's going to have for you?
Production planning, just we want to make all the work on site transparent so I can see where jobs are at without having to ring people. There was so much of it that impressed me,
Okay, so you want a system that's end to end, right? It does everything
Yep. Yes.
right from the beginning right to the end.
Yes.
So that's really about communication, isn't it? Transparency
Yep.
of information flow and communication. Cool. All right. And part of a system is taking away the, let's say, the administration tasks from humans in your business.
Yes.
Because you already had a system, you probably had already done that. But now that we're connecting it all up, I would assume that we're probably looking for a lot of those sort of administration burdens to be reduced as well.
Yes.
Cool. So, as a business grows, it's really great. 2 things we look at is team and systems. Tell me a little bit about your team. Like now that we've worked together for a little bit.
I thought some of them might react. The ones I thought that weren't going to be happy are really on board, asking for more,
What is it you think that they've enjoyed so much that says they want more now? What?
Well, to me, I think a lot of people, there's lots of coaches around. Once they talk to you and you've got an answer and a solution and this is how we can do it at what speed, they're impressed. Remember that first one you did? I've had people before come to things and they ask questions and roll their eyes. We had silence most of the meeting, didn't we? They were just listening.
Yeah, it's good. That's one of the things that we enjoy about what we do is it's not we work with the same sort of businesses in the same industry every single time. So having done this my whole life, it's nice to be able to come in with solutions.
And they realize it's set up to help them, not ruin their lives.
Yeah. So it's focused on what they need, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So your team's needs is something that if it wasn't in focus enough before, we're kind of making that really clear right now, aren't we?
Yes.
So that's,
if somebody's not there's an alert will let you know that, hey, I've got to do this task today for somebody. It won't get forgotten.
Yeah. So that everybody's got their back.
Yep.
Awesome. So what do you see happening in the future? Yeah, the next year, 2 years, 3 years. I know that you and I are getting a bit of a gray on our chin.
Yep.
We're not looking at, the first 5 years in business. We're looking at, possibly what's going to happen when we're not working anymore. How do you sort of see that rolling out over the next, say, 5 to 10 years? I'm
not really sure. Probably may not be there. I'm not sure the exit plan exactly. I know I've got a lot of things I want to do in life. I've always been busy and lots of hobbies. So,
but we are kind of working on
having a business that'll sell,
Yeah, or something that even if you didn't sell it, it could still operate on its own without you having to carry it the whole time. What I'm taking from the conversations that we've been having is that strategy is now becoming a little bit more of a reality.
Yes.
A lot of businesses I work with know that you're going to exit at some point, but we're not really sure when that happens. What is it going to look like?
Yep.
And the things that you're working on right here, team, systems, internal structure, is going to set you up for that exit or that separation from the business, I think.
Yes.
Now let's face it, after 35 years, you deserve a break, right?
Yep. You don't let me around customers, I'm sort of done.
Something that I feel bad now that we didn't bring it up earlier. Your wife Ginny's been a pretty major part of this business this whole way, hasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah. So
she thinks she doesn't do a lot, but she's actually fundamental in a pile of it. Like she does turn up and do these jobs and doesn't make a lot of noise and comes and but it gets done, you know?
Yeah. So you're in this together.
Yep.
That's really cool to see, because a lot of husband and wife teams in this industry don't last. Obviously, you've got something really special, because 35 years is a long time, and
Yep.
I've spent a fair bit of time with both of you, and it's really good to see that you're still very strong in what you're doing, and yeah, it's a great business. Tell me a little bit about the product, the kitchens that you build. What's the specialty from your business, would you say?
I've always tried to have the best quality I can. I used to do a lot of that cheap end market,
Yes.
like retirement villages, all of that, but there's no money in it. Retentions took me a long time to realize. 4 years ago, I priced one in town. Sort of no one can usually compete with me. I went at 2%.
Yeah.
And someone murdered me, Now he's suffering, and I'm out in a market where it's 35%.
Yeah.
Doing a few less kitchens, but they're not much harder. We try and avoid that 60 grand plus. My ideal mark is that if a kitchen's under $28,000, it's pre-finished board, it's got stone tops, we can get in and out. We can usually sell it in 4 to 5 hours.
Would you say that you're really clear on your niche? Like, you're really clear on not only your target client, but the type of work that you want to do?
Yes.
Do you think that's been a real key to your success, as far as, maybe not early on, because early on you probably said, well, I can build anything for anyone, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But as time goes on, you sort of get a lot more clear on what you should and shouldn't.
For sure. Yep. And I used to make stairs and doors and windows, and learned reasonably quickly that was just ruining my life trying to do all of that. Actually specialized. You have to be a giant business to do all of it properly.
And even then, it probably doesn't make sense.
No.
So just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I'm going to work on my own and have a life.
Yeah, that's good. Tell us, the timeline here. We're talking like 5 to 10 years, let's say 10 to 20 years. And now we're getting into the, 20 to 35 year period of time in here. About what time along this journey did you discover that you can say no to jobs? About what if this was the timeline here of your business journey, about what stage would you say that you got totally confident saying no to certain things?
25 years.
So somewhere in here.
The last few years, I've really realized that I tried to employ a color consultant to work in my business.
Right.
She had a total different set of skills. So we took her on, and she got us a bit organized and went, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, actually, why am I doing that?
That's really, really interesting. So all of these years here, if you just learned this here.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I mean. My biggest regret in life is I didn't find you 15 years ago or more.
Yeah, just that real specific niche. What do we do well? Who do we do it well for? How do we get them to love us so that we can charge accordingly, and let's have happy days?
Yep.
Well, the good news is we're doing it now.
Yeah. Because
a lot of people never do it. So, but I love that, because it's really, really clear when you think about it in a timeline that we only learned this, but that squiggly line, had you not done that, you probably still wouldn't have learned it right here.
No.
So that's the unfortunate thing, right? You just have to go through that period of time sometimes to learn what you know now.
Yep.
There's a saying a little while ago, if we didn't learn from our mistakes, humans would never be walking.
Yeah.
I kind of like that one. The baby never gives up, right? We eventually learn how to walk. And it's quite true. That's just kind of human nature. But only if we learn from our mistakes.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about this year, because it's been a pretty unusual year compared to the last 35. What do you think has been your secret getting through this as well as you have?
We were reasonably financially off before it happened.
Yeah.
I did have a big panic because there's so much uncertainty coming back to work,
Yeah. But you had already made the business strong financially.
Yes.
So that set you up for whatever
Yes.
bad thing was going to happen. We didn't predict
Yep.
a pandemic, but we know every year something's going to happen that's not so
Yep.
good, right?
Yeah, and I've always put money back in my business. So when I bought a CNC and all that, I paid for the software, the $60,000 worth of software,
Yeah.
in half the machine. So we weren't, I've never tried to set myself in life so I'm committed too much,
Yes.
So my debt at work level was reasonably low when we came back anyway.
Okay, so you've got the ability to get through this. You know that this bad thing that's going to happen is going to put you on pause for a little bit, but you've got the financial sort of backing to go for a little while. Probably not infinite, but for a little while.
Yep.
But that's probably not
and
enough.
There was a bit of listening to you once we did come out of it. You know how you've said the squiggly line where I kept saying yes to everything.
Yes.
I thought if I said no to something, I might go broke. Where it's actually believe in yourself.
Yeah, back yourself.
Going this long, we've had some hard years. I've had probably $300,000 worth of bad debts, like 180 in 1 year. And one of them was a $90,000 current account that got warned on the Friday, locked some jobs up on the Monday, and lost the whole lot.
One thing that I'd love to be able to do in the time that I have on this earth to help people is to have people stop needing to send invoices or chase money.
Yep.
I would love it if I can get into a position where the people that I'm working with, like you, are paid up front. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Like when I talk about that, it sounds, oh mate, you'll never do that. It's completely unachievable. I get it's hard.
Yep.
But wouldn't it be great if pay up front? We'll do the
Before
work.
I employed my office lady, Tanya, we never took a deposit. So we'd just efficiently make jobs and get them finished and get paid,
And pray that you get paid for them and always chase the money. And that's
it got tight at times. My office lady came once, she'd been there a week. She said, it's non-negotiable. I'm charging a deposit.
Yeah.
Everyone else does.
And it's true, right? Because if you do a really good job of making your lead or your client actually want what you have, they should be able to be willing to pay upfront.
Yep.
And if they're not, maybe we shouldn't be doing this work because there's something shaky going into the relationship.
Yep. So we've picked up a few new builders since the COVID thing.
Yep.
And that's my first conversation. They come in and tell us their big story. Mine is to keep talking. You need to know that do you pay your bill each month? Because if you don't, we're wasting your time now.
Yeah. And you can't be any fairer. Like that's not being difficult in any way, shape, or form. It's much like your suppliers, right? Your board suppliers, your hardware suppliers. If you don't pay your bill, they just cut you off, and they don't really have a whole lot of sympathy that comes into the conversation. It's just, hey, look, I'm sorry, but that's our agreement. And
the other benefit from when you pay them every month, because not lots of people do, they jump when you want something. My bench top guy, we give him 70 or 80 a month. I can ring him and he'll make a top in a hurry if I really need it, and I'm nice to him. But
so the other thing I think that's really done you huge favors during this period of time is your relationships, both with suppliers and your team, because you do have the sort of financial sort of backing to get through this period of time. But if your team wasn't on board and your suppliers weren't there to help you, it would probably be even more difficult.
Yep.
What are your strategies? Like, what are your main strategies around building that relationship with your team over the years and making sure that, because you've got quite a few people that have been with you for a long period of time. I
treat them like friends, sort of,
Yeah. Care about your team is probably.
I don't yell at staff. I don't, I have quite a few walks down the road by myself for a while before I come back and talk to somebody, but you know what I mean? I try and, if something's really gone wrong, I try and have a think about it before we start throwing our arms in the air, because we all make mistakes. It's just, and we're having a little run of that at the moment, but now we're working with your little strategy. I can see people thinking and their own problems now.
Yeah. How do we solve this one?
Yep.
Because if people make mistakes, they are working within the process that you've given them.
Yes.
That's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, isn't it?
Yep.
I was having a conversation yesterday with someone that said, he was a business owner, and he said, that person there on the factory floor is making mistakes and making things way too difficult. Guess who trained him?
Yep.
The person talking. So I had to say, well, hang on. He's doing what you taught them.
And I always have, if we get a reasonable size mistake, I used to try and analyze when that mistake happened, because it didn't happen today.
Yeah.
It might have happened 2 months ago when you put something through. It's not a mistake today. You've got to go back. When I worked myself to hospital, I ended up with a really bad case of arthritis that I couldn't walk and stuff like that, because I do 2 or 3 days with not going to bed,
Yeah.
And so I had to take these pills. And when the bug got running in me, they had these sulfur pills I had to take. I could account every major problem I made from taking one of those pills. So I used to hang off to a Friday night, take the pill, go to the bed for the weekend, then I'd be right next week to run properly,
Right.
Because I had no idea what I was doing when I was on them.
Wow.
But I'd still try and work,
Yeah. It is true, isn't it? Like the stress that you carry with you definitely has a physical effect on us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I know my last joinery business, I also suffered from stress related illnesses, and it doesn't have to be that way. Like we can do the sort of things that you're doing right now. You've talked to me before about other businesses in your area that you've talked to about getting help or getting coaching or guidance. What sort of advice would you give to them? I'm not saying that they have to work with us. I'm just saying that clearly you've gotten sort of over some hurdles that you needed to get over. What advice would you give to them when they say, look, why would you do this?
Like going to a Weezer, I got to know some big companies around New Zealand. So we'd all get together and book and go together. We all have the same problems. You think what I'm doing is not unique to me having a problem. Every joiner or business person has those problems, isn't it? So,
yes.
So actually talk to somebody and get rid of them. So you need to find someone who you can share your problems with, and 100 times better if that person can help you with them. Lots of people just go, oh yeah, we've got that problem. Oh, well, we've got that problem. Well, I hate making the same problem twice.
There is a bit of that in the industry, isn't there? There's complacency and almost acceptance that this is just the way it is, so we have to accept it. Yeah, just getting help.
Yeah.
Is probably that first step, isn't it?
Yep.
Over the last 35 years, have you had other sort of coaches or consultants or people come in and help you in your business?
I started with some guys once where it was a bit of a sales thing, but they kept cancelling me. They were a bit Mickey Mouse, so I gave up on it.
Okay. You got to.
I've had, at one stage, our team was really not liking each other, some of them. So we did get some help in. But then again, like she was really good. But she moved to Australia halfway through the sessions,
So the message here is get the right help.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So let me ask you this question. This is a hard question, so I'll give you a little bit of preparation for this one. You've been in business right now for 35 years in this industry. It's a hard industry to stay in. If someone was starting out in business right now, year one, what advice would you give them about the things that they need to focus on to get their business up to speed where it needs to be right now? What would be the first thing that you would suggest they need to do?
Probably you need a business plan, Yeah, you'd need to make sure you got some help, I reckon, rather than just start making cupboards for people.
Yeah.
You'd need to, there's lots of things you need to, it's such an expensive business to start up in now, really, isn't it? If you're going to buy, you really probably shouldn't be without a CNC, I think. You need software that'll stretch. There's cheaper ways, but it's still quite expensive.
Yeah, so the nesting machine is not really negotiable anymore, isn't it? It's just a required tool like the panel saw was 30 years ago.
Yep. If you're making 1.5 kitchens a week, the saving is great,
Yeah. So a lot of tradesmen go into business. The skills they have to build stuff is obviously there, but what do you think the main skills are in business? You've talked about marketing, obviously, bringing new work into the business that's the lifeblood of the business for sure. Getting the right machinery to be able to produce.
Yep. But also probably knowing what you want to make rather than like I did. Yeah, I'll make stairs today, a door tomorrow.
Clear on targets. Yep. That's excellent.
And I've only just learned the lesson recently. We've had some good edge banders. I bought an OT 2 years ago.
Yep.
So we've done 57,000 kilometres of edge band. And we haven't cleaned any of it up.
Wow.
with my old machine, it was taking 1.4 minutes to clean up a metre of 2 mil. And I think it was 0.8 of a minute to clean up 1 mil. So you do those numbers, it paid the $330,000.
The edge bander is a very labor intensive machine, isn't it? If potentially.
Yep. And we now cut and edge a job and put it together in a day and out the door.
Yeah, very impressive.
I've had in the past without 4 people on it trying to get it cleaned up, and the edge band is beautiful, you know?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I remember when I did my early years in this trade, in almost every shop I was in, there was one guy and his whole career was dedicated to the edge bander.
Yep.
That's all he did. And back then there were no dials. It was all shims.
Yep.
You'd put in and out.
Yep.
Hasn't changed that much, really, has it?
Where this, we don't touch it. It's had 2 services. First one for a day, and then he came the other day for a day.
Yeah. Now we're getting good edge banders coming out. That has changed for
Yep.
sure. Well, look, I really enjoy working with you guys. One of the things that I love about what you do is you implement. We have ideas, we have workshops, we talk about things. But the next time we talk, we've got a whole ton of stuff to talk about from what you've actually done.
Yep.
So from our perspective, the key to your success is that you get shit done.
Yep.
You know, there's very little hesitation, even though you know it might not be perfect. We're going to find perfect by doing it 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
And I think that's one of your biggest strengths, really, is your willingness to keep moving through things and keep get on, stay unstuck, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
We're tidying up areas in the factory, and where the drop saw is, where we cut strip handle and all that sort of thing. It's always been a mess, you know, so we've built this racking system in there. It's only been going 2 weeks. I hate it. I'm going to change it on Monday, but what we've got's 100% better than we had, but I can see it better already.
Yeah. And there's never a perfect, right? It's always, maybe next year you'll build it again and it'll be better again. Yep. There's always going to be that next level thing. And that's the thing that I love about what you and your team have actually taken on board, is that we're not looking for perfect. We're looking for done.
Yep.
And if we're going to be done, and then maybe we're going to do it again. And that momentum is where we find those little pots of gold.
Yep. And there's no use talking to you if you're not going to do it.
Yep. Otherwise, it's just an interesting conversation.
No use having all the ideas in the world, eh? Like I've watched thousands of things on lean on YouTube, you know?
Probably a really interesting thing to talk about, because before you met us, you already had a bit of an idea of what lean manufacturing stood for, correct?
Yes.
The perception of what lean manufacturing was before we started actually doing it in your factory, was it pretty much what you expected, or are we doing things a little bit differently?
Probably a little bit different.
So where are the differences? Like what was the difference in what you're expecting and what's actually happening?
I thought we'd just change it all in one day, but it's a work through it, isn't it? Like the difficulty of just getting our factory cleaned up, because we've got it pretty good, even outside and everything. And it wasn't that messy, but I had a walk around this morning and it's already messy again. Like there's photos for the team talk tomorrow morning to go, when did we start leaning board against racks, and when did we not empty the bin at the end of the saw? And
yeah, we've slipped back. We need to pick it up again.
Yep.
And that recognition early on is going to keep that standard up.
Yes. And then, like you say, they're having people clean areas.
Yeah.
I've been asking all the wrong questions, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Give us an example of the wrong question you were asking and what the right question is now.
So when we set up a roster, I handed them a roster around saying, here's the roster we got, guys. What are your ideas?
Right.
Like you said, I should be the last person to say we need a roster to clean up, guys, and say nothing else, you know?
So instead of giving them the suggestions and the answers, you're letting them, so you're engaging your team.
Yep.
Because they know the answers.
Yep. Or otherwise, because no one likes me, you know, like someone walking around blasting orders, you know, do you? If it's their idea, they feel a lot better about it.
Well, it's a really good point, because if that's what you're doing, they get used to that happening. And then when someone stops blasting out the orders, they stop doing the work.
Yep.
So the shift now is engaging your team, and lean systems really is that, thinking about continuous improvement, putting ideas to the surface so that we can implement them from the specialists in their given areas. Fantastic. Because, you know, lean is sort of a misunderstood terminology, particularly in the joinery industry. It generally gets implemented by someone that doesn't understand joinery, and therefore it gets rejected pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We hope that what we've done is we put a joinery system for lean in place that does nail it with for joinery businesses, and results like yours certainly do indicate that that's absolutely what's happening.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. Was there anything else, Greg, that I haven't sort of talked about here that you think was sort of a major sort of focus point for your business? Have I missed anything?
The other thing is, like in those first few years, like I used to think I couldn't have a holiday.
No time off. Yes.
If you tell somebody I'm going on holiday next Friday for 10 days, like I am, nobody minds. Hey, you know.
And now, 35 years later, you're having time off.
Yep.
What did you say to me at the beginning of this? You're not going back to work today?
Yes. Yeah, that's it today.
That's fantastic. That's kind of the dream, isn't it? You have the business, but the business doesn't have you.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
And I know everything will carry on there.
And you're not worried about it falling over just because you're not there.
Yep.
That's awesome. So we're making progress. We've still got a lot of work to do, but the cool thing is we haven't worked together for that long yet, and you've already made some huge steps forward.
Yep.
Imagine what's going to happen in 12 months or 2 years or 3 years if we keep doing this. It's just going to be right off the charts.
Yep. And before I met you at Christmas, I was ready to get out, you know. I was done. I thought, I'm done. I've got a mate that we go to the beach with, and he's got a few big farms. He taught me into staying in business, and then COVID came and I went, oh no. And then since I found you, I'm awake again at 5:30, wanting to go to work.
Wow, that's fantastic. So we've got...
And it's not, I'm actually not making cupboards. I'm actually doing job man. I'm doing this. I'm doing, you know, like we're getting things and people are smiling.
Nice. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the things we can attribute to that, of course, we like to hear that. It's great personally to know that we're making a difference. And if we look at how do we repeat that again, it's really about clear goals. Like, what do we need to do to get you to X, Y, and Z?
Yes.
And if you can identify those clear steps to that end goal, I think it's easy to start taking those steps. The steps aren't always easy, but you know what they are.
Yep.
And if you don't know what the steps are to get to wherever you want to go, then it's kind of like Groundhog Day, isn't it?
Yep. So when I first started, my wife's friend sells Dale Carnegie, or she's the trainer for it.
Yep.
She said, how's it going? Oh, I said, I'm finding it a bit difficult, you know. She said, because you set it in your way. And she said, fold your arms, and then said, fold them the other way.
That's difficult.
It's hard. She said, yes, because you're so set in your ways. And that's when straight away then, right, we're going to do what we're told.
Try and brush your teeth with your left hand if you're right-handed. It's
Yep.
hard.
Yeah.
I end up punching myself in my cheek with my toothbrush. But you learn.
But up to then, I wasn't happy where we were. So unless you're going to do something, we're going to stay exactly where we were.
Yeah. And you've taken that sort of feeling of, I'm not comfortable here, I'm not happy where I am, and you've gone out and found another way to get where you want to go.
Yep.
All right. Look, congratulations on the work that you've done so far. It's really, we just love working with clients like you, and in particular you guys, because I love New Zealand and I just can't wait to get on a plane and come over and see you.
Yep.
Yeah, it just makes our work so much more enjoyable because you guys do the work, and it seems like you really enjoy what you're doing now, which is even better. So,
and I can't recommend you enough. I'm like people in my town. I just sold him a sander to one guy, and he's doing all the same moaning I'm doing, and he's only been in business 6 years, I think. And I said, hey, you really need to have a talk to you.
Yeah, well, we're always open for that chat for sure.
Yeah, because you're doing more work and making less money. I went, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
that's no way to relive your life, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Fantastic. Well, thanks for doing this, Greg, and
Thank you.
yeah, we'll just keep pressing on. Congratulations on the forward steps, and this has been fun.
Cool. Thanks
All
very
right.
much.
So to you and Ginny, keep up the good work, and we'll chat soon.
Righto.
Okay.
Good.
Cheers.
Bye.